Can't wait. Hello again, it's Rosemary up here in Orkney, and today I want to talk to you about another Orcadian whisky. So we have a huge number of whisky tourists to the islands, and most of them make a beeline to Highland Park. It's the best known of our two whisky distilleries, soon to be two more. But the dram that I've got poured in my glass today is from Scapa, the other distillery. And that is not doing it justice, because Scapa, as you will see from my accompanying blog, which you can read on Substack, Rosemary Moon, a Whisky Woman, Scapa is where people are going to be heading this year for an amazing whisky experience, because they have a fabulous new tasting room. So read more about that on my blog. Now, I'm often not a fan of distillery specials. A, what's the point in telling you about them if you're not here or you're not coming? You're very unlikely to be able to get them. I feel kind of the same about duty-free exclusive as well. I sometimes think that they're a way of getting rid of a few barrels that they don't know what to do with. I didn't say that. Anyway, with Scapa, what you've got is two core whiskies. You've got the Skiren, which is their fruity, snappy, crunchy, delicious heather honey. There's a video review on my YouTube channel. You can find it. It's a wonderful no age statement whiskey. And then there's Glancer, which is basically the same spirit, but it is finished, rested, whatever term you like to use, in barrels that have previously held, or casks that have previously held, heavily peated whiskies. And so it has a smokiness, they would say, rather than a peatedness. I really didn't like it when I first tasted it, but I have to say I am getting to make friends with it more and more. All that is irrelevant. Look, I've talked for 2.5 minutes and haven't really told you about this, because this is a 12-year-old Scapa. So the Skiren and Glancer are non-age statements, widely available in the UK, and I think also probably for export. But this 12-year-old is a distillery special. Now, the thing about Scapa is that quite recently it was silent for 10 years. And so the holy grail of Scapa whisky, I'm sitting slightly like this today. Shall I tell you why? Because look, there's a plug socket just pointing out over there, and it deeply offends me. Let's see if I can get my, there we are. No, I can't keep that up. So this closure for 10 years meant that they didn't have the whisky for their holy grail 16-year-old. And if you mention Scapa to most whisky lovers, it is the 16 that makes them salivate. Glorious, glorious dram, just literally like a grown-up Skiren, like a Skiren that's been around a bit, confident in itself, those same heather honey notes, etc., etc. And at the moment, or very, very soon, it may be available again as a distillery special. So why not come to Orkney, experience our food and drink? So the dram I have in my glass, the 12-year-old, what they've done to create this distillery special is they've ramped up the ABV, basically. So it is a massive 48, I think it's 48.2, yes, 48.2, don't forget the 0.2, very important. And it completely alters the nose. It is much more gutsy. I find the honey there. I find it there in the bottom of the aroma palette. But there is, of course, much more alcohol, obviously, oomph about it. I find it slightly brings out the citrus notes on the nose. It certainly makes it much more complex, not difficult by any stretch of the imagination, rather mouth-watering, in fact. Um, yeah, there's something much more elegant about it, shall we say. Um, Kind of like a meal on a plate, you know, all those aromas that we look for, all those nosing sensations that we look for are kind of melded together in the nosing of this dram. So remember, 48.2, just in case I go on for too long and, you know, my speech. Anyway. So first of all, we've got 12 years. Used to be the standard for most whiskies. Now it's just a delight. And we've got high alcohol by volume. Just beautiful. A cascade of honeyed, heathery, grassy, verdant flavours has just literally flowed across my palate and into my tummy tum tum. Now, those of you who know a lot about anatomy will say that it hasn't got there already, but that's where it's heading. It's just glorious. So often I find when I have my first sip of a whiskey that it is in components, you know, it's in different bits, different sensations, and you've got to, you know, just stick your tongue around and work it around your tongue in order to get the full flavour. Here, it's just melded together. And it's so easy, and that is the trouble with this whiskey. You know, if I have some of my whiskey friends around and put this out, I don't know quite how much I'd be expecting off the bottle at the end of the evening. It is, well, whiskey is for sharing, isn't it? Second sip. Now I'm getting more maritime flavours here. There's slightly more saltiness, more herbaceous notes. And that in itself is really surprising, because if you watched any of my previous whiskey videos, you know, quite often it's that sort of sensation you get first time, second sensation when your mouth is used to it, it becomes more homogenized, more of a dram. But here I'm pulling out that real sort of coastal salty maritime pasture, but with the heather honey and slight almost nutmeggy notes in it. It's just that classic kind of bourbon barreling, maturation. Oh, lovely. Why are you waiting? Get your holiday thing out. Look at it coming to Orkney. You will be able to buy this from Scapa. It is delicious. Yeah, it is just a honeyed coastal dram. So with steady hand, I'm just going to put a tiny splidge of water into this. 48.2 might make it easier. Couldn't be any easier as far as I'm concerned. Oh, opens up the nose completely. Much more fruity. Much more honeyed, more top fruits, apples, pears, those sort of notes coming through. But still with the depth and the richness that you find in our food and drink up here, because, you know, the weather is wild and the sea blows salt onto the pasture, the animals eat it, you know, it's just in the characteristic. I know no animals contribute to whiskey, but it's in the crops. Yes. So, now that for me brings out, and remember I've just added a little drop of water, that brings out more tannins, a greater woodiness to it, very well managed, very balanced. I personally would drink this without the water. I just love that honeyed flavour. But with it, actually, much more pepper arrives on my tongue at the end of that sip. So hugely long finish. Again, 48.2, what would you expect? And you can tell the wood is at work because my palate is drying out somewhat. But yeah, party whiskey. You drink it however you want. It's a wonderful dram. Anyway, check out my blog about this and you'll hear all about the amazing new Noost, or you'll read all about the amazing new Noost tasting room and the other delicious whiskies that you can buy if you come here to Orkney. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Slangevar. That seems to pretty much all have gone. Oh, just a little bit left. I do love